So I won't speak for very long. In 1977, Prabhupada was in Vrindavan in mid-year. I happened to be there when he instructed some of his followers that we should try and get all the places where Prabhupada had preached and where he had lived. He had already begun the Radha Damodar rooms. He had already got several of his sannyasis living there, just to lay a claim, if you like, for ISKCON. He said that these, he didn't use the word Tirthastan, but that's Tirthastan means that a place of Leela, a place of pastimes. Prabhupada said that it's very important to keep those places maintained. And let's see. Anyway, so I think it was about June of 1977. When I heard Prabhupada make that comment, a few days later, I went to the Bamsi Gopal temple, where Prabhupada had lived for some time in the 1950s. And when I got to the temple, I was met by the Mahant there, and he immediately showed me the original rental document that Prabhupada had for that Bamsi Gopal temple. So I understood, at least from Prabhupada's mood, that these places where the different activities of Krishna and his all the entourage, when he comes, they create spiritual you have to excuse me, my brain's not working well. Anyway, there's different places of pastimes. In Kali Yuga, we're likely to forget things immediately after they've been done. We see that in Lord Chaitanya's time, he personally went to Vrindavan. Afterwards, he sent all of his chief preachers. They all went to Vrindavan to revive and resuscitate all the places of Krishna's pastimes. If we don't do that, if we don't keep the connection, then after a very short time, people forget. When Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, there's so many places that had become hidden by the flow of time. So one of the important works of the six Goswamis was to renovate or to relocate the different Leela stands and pastimes places. So it's, we can take it as a very important task that we should mark, we should maintain, and we should propagate Krishna consciousness from these particular spots, because everywhere where a pure devotee goes, then the place becomes a tirthastan. It's a place to get purified. So this building has so much historical value in the modern day Hare Krishna movement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had his immediate followers establish these places, and we have to follow on from what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then Srila Prabhupada. There are so many places that we should gradually maintain, and use for our preaching purposes. So this, I understand this is going to be some kind of a museum, and I hope that there'll be extensive preaching that was done from previously. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came here in 1918. He had just taken sannyas on Gaur Purnima Day. Well, actually, in our Bhaktivedanta Research Center, we have an Indian government map from 1918. And at that time on the map, there's nothing. It's just open land. Now we see that Mayapur is becoming one of the most important places for pilgrimage because of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati taking the time and trouble to establish his main headquarters there. So in the same way he came here in 1918 to begin his preaching work in the cities. He had already been doing his brata for chanting, and after that then he was instructed or inspired to come to Calcutta and begin his preaching work. And within a short period of time, then they had 64 different temples. So this was not owned by the Gaudiya Math, but it was rented by them for about 14 years. So after they moved to the Bag Bazaar temple, then this was taken back again by the owners, and it's just been sitting here for a long time, many years, and practically forgotten. Somehow or another, our couple of devotees, I think from Bombay, and excuse me, I can't remember their names, but they decided to do some investigative work. Eventually, they found this building. It was, I believe, in the hands of a developer. So he had a plan that he was going to demolish this and build flats. So somehow or another, our devotees, Radharaman and others, they persuaded this, well, they persuaded the owner to release the building for our use. It took a struggle. I think it was about 7 years from the time that they found the place to getting legally getting in a position where we could prevent it from being demolished and develop it. So anyway, the history is going to be there. It's in the museum, but it's very wonderful to see the remanifestation of the first and most important of the Gaudiya Maths outside of Mayapur. So I'd like to thank all the Calcutta devotees. I'd like to thank all the devotees that have contributed to this resuscitation of one of the most important places in Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's preaching. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.